This is a 2013 Infiniti G37X, 3.7-liter V6 engine with 348 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. It is a high-performance luxury coupe that could give you everything you ever wanted in a car. But that's not why we're here today. This is why we're here. And even with these new technologies, this vehicle produces 7.2 tons of CO2 annually. There is a solution. This is the FuelMaxx Epic, the electron-proton energy cell. This unit can eliminate toxins such as CO and nitrous oxide up to 99% of current emissions. And we'll show you how. But before we can install our FuelMaxx Epic unit, the first thing that we need to figure out is exactly what the baseline emissions are on this particular vehicle. And the right way to do that is going to a government emissions testing facility. That's where we're going right now. The emission test is going to help us measure the level of gases in our emissions. The measurements that we're looking for nitrous oxide, CO2, O2, CO, and even the dilution. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to know before you just run off to do an emissions test. Vehicles that have a lot of emissions technology built on them need time to basically warm up. The catalytic converter on this particular car operates at about 650 degrees. That's when it's optimal in its performance and its emissions cleaning as you're driving along. Now, if that catalytic converter is not hot enough, it's not going to be doing its job, so you're not going to be getting a good reading on the baseline, which is really, really important to figure out just how much of an impact the Epic has on this vehicle.
The test on our Infiniti begins when our state-certified emissions tech Jared pulls the G37X into the dyno bay. Once in, he begins to enter the vehicle's information manually into the computer, and then digitally by scanning the car's onboard computer. After the vehicle's information is input into the computer, the car is then secured in the dyno bay, and an emission sensor is placed into one of the exhaust ports of the Infiniti. After one last check of the computer, Jared starts the test. The state emissions test consists of taking readings from every car at 15 and 25 miles per hour. This allows for the test to determine just how much toxic exhaust is being generated at two different performance levels of the vehicle. This allows for a more accurate reading of the total harmful toxins being produced during a normal driving period of our Infiniti. Once the test is completed, all of the test results are compiled and saved into a state database for every car tested. 2 copies of the test are printed out, one for the testing facility and 1 copy for the vehicle's owner. After the state-certified technician signs both copies, he then goes over the test results explaining how clean or harmful our car is according to state emissions requirements.
Well, we've got our baseline emissions test, so let's go put on our Epic, see what we can get out of it. One of the great advantages of the FuelMaxx Epic product is that it is a very simple install. There's only 3 points on this unit that have to be connected to the car. We have a negative wire, a positive wire, which will run to the battery, and then we have the vacuum line, which inserts right into the existing vacuum system of this motor. All right, now we have the unit. Okay, now we have the brass fitting placed in here. It is now charging, and it's functional at this point. Okay, now that we have everything in place, we're ready to start the car up. Now, what we need to do, and one of the best ways to check and see when your FuelMaxx or your Epic unit is working, is that once the car is started, we're going to go back to the back and do what we call a sniff test. What we've done is just start the car right after we did the install. Now, we haven't given it a chance to warm up yet and make the catalytic converter work, so what we're going to do is take a smell and see what we've got. Okay, that's really fumey. There's a lot of gas, so what we need to do is get this car warmed up and see what the Epic's doing. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this out and we're going to drive it for about 10 or 15 minutes so we can get the catalytic converter hot, and then we'll know our Epic's working. Okay, now we've been out driving our car for about 10 or 15 minutes, so we got our catalytic converter good and hot. Now, when I stick my nose down here, I shouldn't smell anything, and the only thing I should feel is a little bit of heat. Let's check it out. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. Super clean, smells like water vapor. The Epic's working.
Okay, we've completed 2 identical emissions tests for our Infiniti G37X. Now we can compare apples to apples to clearly see how much impact our Epic unit has on harmful deadly emissions produced by this car. To illustrate this, we will focus on the output of the 3 most dangerous gases generated by combustion engines today: hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and nitrous oxide. The state-established standard or limit for hydrocarbons for this car is 120 parts per million. Carbon monoxide is 0.67%, and the nitrous oxide limit is 848 parts per million. Our baseline test results without the Epic showed us that there were 3 parts per million produced of hydrocarbons, a 0.02% of carbon monoxide was generated, along with 3 parts per million of nitrous oxide. The amount of hydrocarbons left over by the Epic was 0.1 part per million. Carbon monoxide was 0.0%, the nitrous oxide result was 0.0 parts per million. Although the baseline results for the G37X were good, it's very clear to see that the FuelMaxx Epic significantly reduced or eliminated the 3 most harmful, dangerous, toxic greenhouse gases produced by combustion engines. Hydrocarbons were reduced from 3 parts per million to 0.1 part per million, a 99.97% reduction. Carbon monoxide dropped from 0.02% to 0.0%, a 100% reduction. The nitrous oxide baseline was 3 parts per million, while the Epic eliminated 100% of this carcinogen, resulting in 0 parts per million. From these third-party state government verified tests, it's easy to see how effective the FuelMaxx Epic is at significantly reducing and eliminating deadly toxic gases found in automotive emissions today.
Well, there you have it. In this video, we've shown you how easy it is to install a FuelMaxx Epic unit, as well as showing you through government testing how it positively affects auto emissions.